The coffee burned her tongue, but Zara Ellis barely noticed as she stared at the man across from her, wondering if this was some elaborate prank. "I don't believe you," she said, setting down her cup with enough force that the liquid sloshed over the rim. "There's no way you're being serious right now." Oliver Parrish leaned back in his chair, his jaw tight, eyes darker than she'd ever seen them. "I've never been more serious about anything in my entire life. I'm in love with you, Zara. I have been for months." She laughed, but it came out sharp and bitter. "Right. Because the guy who's been my friend, my coffee shop regular, the person I talk to about everything, suddenly decides he's in love with me. This is cruel, Oliver. If someone put you up to this, nobody put me up to anything." His voice dropped lower, rougher. "I'm telling you the truth." They'd met 6 months ago when Oliver started coming into the bookshop where Zara worked. Not one of those massive chain stores, but a small independent place in downtown Seattle that smelled like aged paper and vanilla candles. He'd walked in on a rainy Tuesday morning, soaked through, asking if they had a copy of an obscure poetry collection. She'd found it for him in the back room, buried under 3 boxes of new inventory, and when she handed it to him, their fingers had touched. Something had shifted in that moment, though she'd convinced herself it was nothing. After that, he came in 3 times a week. Always polite, always asking about her day, always staying longer than necessary. They'd fallen into an easy friendship, the kind where conversation flowed without effort. He never mentioned what he did for work, and she never asked. Seattle was full of tech workers and startup entrepreneurs, and honestly, she didn't care. She liked him for who he was in those moments. Funny, thoughtful, genuinely interested in books and the world around him. "You're making fun of me," Zara said now, her throat tight. "We're friends. That's all we've ever been." Oliver stood up, his chair scraping against the floor of the small coffee shop where they'd agreed to meet after her shift. It was nearly 9 at night, the place mostly empty except for a college student hunched over a laptop in the corner. "I'm not making fun of you, I would never do that." "Then why are you saying this?" She felt heat behind her eyes and blinked hard. "Why ruin what we have?" "Because I can't keep pretending." He ran a hand through his dark hair, making it stick up at odd angles. "Every time I see you, it gets harder to act like I don't feel this way. When you smile at other customers, when you talk about books you love, when you tell me about your terrible apartment with the leaking ceiling, I want to be the person who fixes it all for you. I want to be more than your friend." Zara's heart hammered against her ribs. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. But she'd been down this road before with guys who thought it was funny to make the bookish girl think they were interested. College had taught her that lesson the hard way. "I need to go," she said, grabbing her jacket from the back of her chair. "Zara, wait, no, Oliver, I can't do this." She was out the door before he could stop her, the cool Seattle night air hitting her face like a slap. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she lay in her tiny studio apartment, staring at the water-stained ceiling, replaying every interaction she'd ever had with Oliver. Had there been signs? Moments where he'd looked at her differently? She couldn't tell anymore. Her judgment felt scrambled, emotions tangled up with fear and hope and confusion. The next day at work, she kept glancing at the door, half expecting him to walk through it. He didn't come. Not that day or the next or the one after that. A week passed, then 2. Zara told herself it was better this way, that things would have gotten too complicated. But the bookshop felt emptier without him, and she found herself missing their conversations more than she wanted to admit. "You look miserable," her coworker Marcus said on a Thursday afternoon, 3 weeks after that night at the coffee shop. He was restocking the mystery section, his reading glasses sliding down his nose. "Want to talk about it?" Not really. Zara was supposed to be cataloging new arrivals, but she'd been staring at the same page of inventory for 10 minutes. Does this have anything to do with that guy who used to come in all the time? Tall, always bought poetry, she sighed. Maybe. He seemed nice. What happened? He said something I didn't believe, and I walked away. Marcus raised an eyebrow. What'd he say? That he was in love with me. And you didn't believe him because, Zara set down her pen, because people don't just fall in love with me, Marcus. I'm the friend, the person who recommends books and listens to problems. I'm not the girl guys confess their feelings to. That's the saddest thing I've heard all week, Marcus said, shaking his head. And I had a customer yesterday tell me his wife left him for their marriage counselor. Thanks for the perspective. I'm serious, Zara. You're smart, funny kind. Why wouldn't someone fall in love with you? She didn't have an answer for that. Or maybe she did, but it was buried under years of insecurity and self-doubt that she didn't want to excavate in the middle of the bookshop. That evening, as she was locking up, her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend, Lily. Coffee tomorrow. You've been radio silent for weeks and I'm worried. Zara agreed, and the next morning found herself at a different coffee shop, this one across town, far from any place that might remind her of Oliver. Lily was already there, her red hair pulled into a messy bun, concern written across her freckled face. Okay, spill, Lily said the moment Zara sat down. What's going on? So Zara told her everything. About Oliver, about his confession, about how she'd run away because she couldn't believe he was telling the truth. Lily listened without interrupting, which was unusual for her, and when Zara finished, her friend was quiet for a long moment. Do you have feelings for him? Lily finally asked. I don't know, maybe. Yes. Zara dropped her head into her hands. God, I don't know anymore. Here's a wild thought. What if he was telling the truth? But why would he? We're just friends. Zara, friendship is literally the foundation of every good relationship. The fact that you two were friends first is a good thing, not a reason to doubt him. But what if I'm wrong? What if I let myself believe him and it turns out to be some joke? Lily reached across the table and grabbed Zara's hand. What if you're wrong about being wrong? What if he really does love you and you're throwing it away because you're scared? The words hit harder than Zara expected. Was she scared? Yes. Terrified, actually. But was that a good enough reason to not even try? I need to know for sure, Zara said quietly. Then find out. Talk to him. Ask him to explain. Give him a chance to prove it. Lily made it sound so simple, but nothing about this felt simple. Still, as Zara rode the bus back to her apartment, she made a decision. She would reach out to Oliver. She would ask him to meet her. And this time she would listen. She texted him that night. Can we talk? I'm sorry I ran. I want to hear you out. He responded within minutes. Yes. When and where? They agreed to meet at a park near the waterfront on Sunday afternoon. Zara spent the intervening day and a half anxious, changing her outfit 4 times before settling on jeans and a green sweater that Lily said brought out her eyes. Not that it mattered. This wasn't a date. This was a conversation. Oliver was already there when she arrived, standing near a bench overlooking Elliott Bay. The sky was overcast, typical for Seattle, but it wasn't raining. He turned when he heard her approach, and the look on his face made her chest tighten. Hi, she said, suddenly feeling awkward. Hi. He gestured to the bench. Want to sit? They sat, a careful distance between them, the sound of seagulls and distant traffic filling the silence. Zara didn't know how to start, so she just jumped in. I'm sorry I didn't believe you, she said. And I'm sorry I ran away. I just couldn't process what you were saying. I know I caught you off guard. Oliver's voice was steady, measured. I didn't plan to say it that night, it just came out. Why did you say it, I mean? He looked out at the water, his profile sharp against the gray sky. Because you mentioned maybe dating someone from that app Lily set you up on, and the thought of you going out with some random guy made me feel physically ill. I realized I couldn't keep pretending I only wanted to be your friend. Zara's breath caught. I never went on that date. I know. You told me the next time we talked, but by then I already knew I had to tell you how I felt. But why didn't you say anything before, all those months? Oliver finally looked at her, and the intensity in his dark eyes made her stomach flip. Because I didn't want to lose you. Our friendship matters to me, and I was terrified that if I said something, you'd disappear from my life entirely. Which is exactly what happened anyway. Yeah. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Ironic, isn't it? Zara twisted her hands in her lap. I need you to understand why I reacted the way I did. In college, there were these guys who thought it was hilarious to pretend they were interested in me. They'd ask me out as a joke, tell me they liked me just to see how I'd react. It messed me up for a long time. Oliver's jaw clenched. That's awful. I'm sorry that happened to you. So when you said you loved me, my brain immediately went to that place, the place where I'm the punchline. You're not a punchline, Zara. You're the whole damn story. He shifted on the bench, angling toward her. I'm in love with you. Completely, honestly, inconveniently in love with you. I love the way you recommend books based on what mood people are in. I love how you get excited about first editions and cry during sad movies. I love that you remember everyone's coffee order and that you hum when you're reorganizing shelves. I love you, and I'm not saying it as a joke or to hurt you. I'm saying it because it's true. Tears pricked at Zara's eyes. How do I know you mean it? What can I do to prove it to you? She thought about that. Tell me something true, something real that you've never told anyone else. Oliver was quiet for a moment, then said, My full name is Oliver James Parrish. I'm 31 years old, and I'm the CEO of Parrish Industries. We manufacture sustainable building materials and have contracts with companies all over the world. I'm worth about $3 billion, give or take. Zara stared at him. What? You asked for something true. That's the truth. I didn't tell you before because every time I mention money or my company, people change. They treat me differently. But with you, I got to be just Oliver. Just the guy who likes poetry and coffee and talking about books. I didn't want to lose that. Her mind was spinning. You're a billionaire. Yes. And you didn't think to mention that. Would it have changed how you saw me? Zara opened her mouth, then closed it. Would it have? Probably. She would have been intimidated, maybe kept him at more of a distance. I don't know, she admitted. That's why I didn't say anything. I wanted you to know me, not my bank account. She processed this information, trying to reconcile the Oliver she knew with the image of a CEO running a multi-billion-dollar company. So when you came into the bookshop, I had just finished a meeting nearby. I really was looking for that poetry collection. Everything I told you, every conversation we had, that was all real. The only thing I kept from you was what I do for a living. That's kind of a big thing to keep secret. I know, and I'm sorry. But Zara, I need you to understand that my feelings for you have nothing to do with anything but who you are. I fell in love with the woman who spent 20 minutes helping me find a book, who listens when I talk about my day, who makes me laugh and think and feel more alive than I have in years. Zara wiped at her eyes, frustrated with herself for crying. This is a lot to take in. I know, take all the time you need. They sat in silence for a while, watching boats move across the bay. Zara's thoughts were a tangled mess, but underneath all the confusion, one thing was becoming clear. She believed him. Whether it was the raw honesty in his voice or the way he'd opened up about something so personal, she believed he was telling the truth about his feelings. I think I might have feelings for you too, she said quietly. I didn't let myself acknowledge it because I thought we were just friends. But when you stopped coming to the bookshop, I missed you. Not just as a friend. I missed you in a way that hurt." Oliver's hand found hers on the bench, his fingers lacing through hers. "So where does that leave us?" "I want to try," Zara said, looking at him. "I want to see what this could be, but you have to be patient with me. I'm still scared." "I can do patient." He squeezed her hand. "I'll spend every day proving to you that this is real if that's what it takes." She smiled, and for the first time in weeks it felt genuine. "Maybe start with dinner, tonight." "Why not?" He grinned, and it transformed his whole face. "I know a place." The place turned out to be a small Italian restaurant tucked away in a neighborhood Zara had never explored. It was cozy and warm, with checkered tablecloths and candles flickering on every table. They talked for hours, falling back into the easy rhythm they'd always had, but with an added layer of awareness. Every touch felt significant. Every smile held more weight. Oliver told her about his company, about how his father had started it and he'd taken over 5 years ago. About the pressure and the responsibility, and how sometimes he felt like he was drowning in expectations. Zara told him about her dreams of maybe owning her own bookshop someday, about her complicated relationship with her parents who didn't understand why she'd majored in literature instead of something practical. "They think I'm wasting my potential working retail," she admitted over tiramisu. "They wanted me to go to law school." "Are you happy doing what you're doing?" Oliver asked. "Most days, yes. I love books. I love helping people find stories that will matter to them. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't want more eventually." "Then you should have more. What's stopping you?" "Money, mainly, and experience, and the terror of failing spectacularly." Oliver smiled. "Those are all valid concerns, but for what it's worth, I think you'd be an incredible bookshop owner. You're biased. Completely. But that doesn't make me wrong." By the time they left the restaurant, it was past 11, and the streets were mostly empty. Oliver walked her to her bus stop, his hand still holding hers. "I don't want this night to end," Zara said, then felt immediately self-conscious about admitting it. "It doesn't have to." "I can drive you home." "You don't have to, I want to." His car was parked a block away, and when Zara saw it, she had to bite back a laugh. It was a Tesla, sleek and expensive, exactly what she should have expected from a billionaire but somehow hadn't. "Not what you're used to seeing in my hands?" Oliver asked, noticing her expression. "I'm just adjusting to all of this. The you that I know and this new information about who you are, it's a lot." "I'm still the same person." "I know. I think I'm starting to really believe that." He drove her home, and when they pulled up outside her building, neither of them moved to get out. The car idled in the darkness, the city lights casting shadows across Oliver's face. "Can I see you again?" he asked. "Tomorrow," Zara smiled. "I work until 6. I'll pick you up after your shift." "Okay." She hesitated, then leaned over and kissed his cheek. It was quick, barely more than a brush of lips against skin, but Oliver's sharp intake of breath told her he felt it too, that electric current that had been building between them all night. "Good night, Zara." "Good night, Oliver." The next few weeks were a blur of dates and late-night phone calls and stolen moments between her shifts at the bookshop. Oliver seemed determined to prove his feelings were real, showing up with her favorite coffee order, remembering small details she'd mentioned in passing, making her laugh until her sides hurt. But he was also respectful of her boundaries, never pushing for more than she was ready to give. "You're being very gentlemanly about this," Zara teased one evening as they walked through Pike Place Market, weaving between tourists and locals. "About what?" "Not trying to rush things physically." Oliver stopped walking, turning to face her. "I'm in this for the long haul, Zara. I don't want to rush anything. When we get there, I want it to be because we're both ready, not because I pushed." Her heart squeezed. "You're making it really hard not to fall completely in love with you." "Good," he said, grinning. "That's the plan. But it wasn't all perfect." There were moments when Zara's insecurities crept back in, when she'd see Oliver in his element taking a business call, dressed in a suit for a board meeting, and wonder what he saw in her. She was just a bookshop employee with student loan debt and a leaking ceiling. What could she possibly offer someone like him? She finally voiced these concerns one night over dinner at his apartment, a stunning loft in downtown Seattle with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Oliver had cooked, or attempted to. The pasta was slightly overcooked, and the sauce was more than a little burnt, but he'd tried, and that mattered. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop," Zara admitted, pushing food around her plate. "For you to realize this doesn't make sense." Oliver set down his fork. "What doesn't make sense?" "Us. You're a billionaire CEO and I'm barely making ends meet. We're from completely different worlds. So what? Those worlds don't define who we are as people. And for the record, I've dated women from my world, as you put it. Women who understood the business and the money and all of that. And every single relationship felt hollow because they loved what I represented more than who I actually was. I'm not like them." "Exactly. That's the point. You see me, Zara, the real me. Not the version that exists in boardrooms or in the society pages. You make me feel human again." She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the vulnerability in his eyes. He wasn't just some untouchable billionaire. He was a man who got lonely, who wanted connection, who had chosen her. "I'm falling in love with you," she whispered. "It terrifies me, but it's true." Oliver was around the table in seconds, pulling her up from her chair and into his arms. "You have no idea how long I've waited to hear you say that. I'm sorry it took me so long to catch up." "You're worth the wait." He kissed her then, really kissed her, and it was nothing like the tentative pecks they'd shared before. This was passionate and consuming and perfect. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Zara rested her forehead against his. "Stay tonight," Oliver said. "Not for anything more than sleeping beside you. I just want you here." She stayed. They talked until the early hours of the morning, wrapped in blankets on his couch, sharing stories and dreams and fears. And when they finally fell asleep, Zara felt safer than she had in years. The relationship deepened after that night. They became inseparable, fitting together in ways that felt natural and right. Oliver started coming back to the bookshop during her shifts, not as a customer but as her boyfriend, a word that still made her smile every time she thought it. Marcus approved, giving Oliver the third degree one afternoon while Zara was on her lunch break. "He's good for you," Marcus told her later. "I haven't seen you this happy in the entire time I've known you." "I didn't know I could be this happy," Zara admitted. But happiness, she was learning, came with its own complications. The first time they encountered paparazzi was outside a restaurant in downtown Seattle. Oliver had warned her that it might happen eventually. He wasn't exactly a household name, but in business circles, he was well known, but she hadn't been prepared for the flash of cameras or the shouted questions. "Oliver, who's your date? Is this serious? What's her name?" Oliver's hand tightened around hers as he guided her quickly to his car, not answering any questions. Once they were safely inside, he looked at her with concern. "Are you okay?" Zara's heart was racing, but she nodded. "That was intense. I'm sorry. I should have been more careful about where we went." "Don't apologize. This is part of your life, right? I need to get used to it." But getting used to it proved harder than she expected. Within days, photos of them appeared online, along with speculation about who she was. Most of it was harmless curiosity, but some comments were cruel, questioning why someone like Oliver would be with someone so ordinary. Zara tried not to let it bother her, but it was difficult. "You're reading the comments, aren't you?" Oliver asked one evening, finding her on her phone with a troubled expression. "People think I'm a gold digger. People are idiots. You know the truth. I know the truth. That's all that matters. Easy for you to say. You're not the one being torn apart by internet strangers." Oliver took her phone and set it aside. "Look at me. Those people don't know you, they don't know us. Their opinions mean nothing. But what if they're right? What if I am just some ordinary girl who got lucky? You're not ordinary, Zara. You're extraordinary. And I didn't get lucky. I got everything I didn't know I needed." His words helped, but the scrutiny continued to be challenging. Zara found herself second-guessing everything she wore, everything she said in public, constantly aware that she was now part of Oliver's public life whether she wanted to be or not. Things came to a head 3 months into their relationship when Oliver had to attend a major industry gala. He asked Zara to be his date, and despite her reservations, she agreed. Lily helped her pick out a dress, a deep blue gown that made her feel like someone else entirely, and gave her a pep talk in the car on the way there. "You belong there just as much as anyone else," Lily insisted. "Oliver loves you. That's all you need to remember." The gala was overwhelming. Held in a luxurious hotel ballroom, it was filled with people who moved in circles Zara had only read about. She recognized a few faces from the news, tech moguls and entrepreneurs and old money families. Everyone seemed to know everyone else, and she felt completely out of her depth. Oliver stayed close to her side, introducing her to various people, his hand a constant presence at the small of her back. But eventually, he was pulled into a conversation with some investors, and Zara found herself standing alone, nursing a glass of champagne and wishing she was anywhere else. "So you're the bookshop girl." Zara turned to find a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine, tall, blonde, perfectly polished. "Sorry, you're dating Oliver Parrish. Everyone's talking about it. I'm Charlotte, by the way, Charlotte Winters. Oliver and I dated a few years back." "Of course she did." Zara forced a smile. "Nice to meet you." "You're different than his usual type," Charlotte said, and though her tone was pleasant, there was an edge to it. "I suppose that's refreshing." "I suppose so. Word of advice. This world can be brutal if you're not prepared for it. Oliver needs someone who can handle the pressure, someone who understands the demands of his position." Zara felt her defenses rising. "And you don't think I can handle it?" "I'm just saying it takes a certain kind of person. Not everyone is cut out for this life." Before Zara could respond, Oliver reappeared at her side, his expression darkening when he saw Charlotte. "Charlotte, I didn't realize you'd be here. Wouldn't miss it. I was just getting to know your girlfriend. She's charming." The word sounded like an insult coming from her mouth. Oliver's jaw tightened. "If you'll excuse us." He guided Zara away, leading her out onto a balcony where the air was cooler and they could be alone. "Are you okay? What did she say to you?" "Just that I'm not cut out for this life, that you need someone who understands your world." "Charlotte doesn't know what she's talking about. She never understood me when we were together, and she certainly doesn't now." "But what if she's right, Oliver? What if I can't handle all of this?" Zara gestured back toward the ballroom. "Look at all those people in there. They're all successful and polished, and they belong. You're the only person in there I care about," Oliver interrupted. "The only one I want to be with. Charlotte is bitter because I ended things with her, not the other way around. Don't let her get in your head. It's not just her. It's everything. The cameras, the comments online, events like this where I feel like everyone's judging me." Oliver cupped her face in his hands. "I know this hasn't been easy. I know I'm asking a lot of you by bringing you into this part of my life. But Zara, you make everything worth it." Every difficult moment, every sacrifice, it's all worth it because I get to be with you." Tears welled in her eyes. "I love you, I'm just scared I'm not enough." "You're more than enough. You're everything." He kissed her, and for a moment the rest of the world fell away. When they pulled apart, Zara took a deep breath. "Okay, let's go back inside, together." They made it through the rest of the evening, and by the end of the night, Zara felt stronger. She'd survived her first major event as Oliver's girlfriend, and more importantly, she'd realized that as long as they were together, she could handle whatever came their way. The months that followed were some of the happiest of Zara's life. She and Oliver grew closer, their relationship deepening into something solid and real. He met her parents, which was predictably awkward, but by the end of the dinner, even her skeptical father had to admit that Oliver genuinely cared about his daughter. Zara met Oliver's mother, a warm woman who ran a non-profit, and told Zara she was glad her son had finally found someone who made him smile again. And through it all, they talked. About everything and nothing, about their fears and hopes and dreams for the future. Oliver supported Zara's ambition to eventually open her own bookshop, even offering to invest. Though she politely declined, she wanted to do it on her own terms. Zara learned to navigate Oliver's world with more confidence, finding her footing among the galas and business dinners. Nearly a year into their relationship, Oliver asked her to move in with him. Zara's studio apartment with its leaking ceiling had become less of a home and more of a place she stored her things, since she spent most of her time at Oliver's loft anyway. "Are you sure?" she asked when he brought it up one lazy Sunday morning, both of them still in bed, sunlight streaming through the windows. "I've never been more sure of anything. I want to wake up with you every morning and fall asleep beside you every night. I want this to be our home, not just mine." Zara smiled, her heart full. Then yes, absolutely yes. Moving in together felt like the natural next step. They fell into routines, learning each other's habits and quirks. Oliver discovered that Zara sang in the shower and left books scattered on every surface. Zara learned that Oliver was obsessive about his coffee maker and liked to cook on weekends, even though he was terrible at it. They had their first real fight about 4 months after she moved in. Something stupid about Oliver working too much and Zara feeling neglected. It escalated quickly, both of them saying things they didn't mean, and for a terrifying moment, Zara thought they might not recover from it. But then Oliver stopped mid-sentence and said, "This is ridiculous. I don't want to fight with you. I don't want to fight with you either." They talked it through, really talked, addressing the underlying issues rather than just the surface argument. And when they made up, their relationship felt even stronger for having weathered that storm. As their 1-year anniversary approached, Zara found herself thinking about the future more and more. About what it would mean to truly build a life with Oliver, about marriage and children and all the things she'd once thought were too far away to consider. But with Oliver, nothing felt too far away. Everything felt possible. He planned something special for their anniversary, though he wouldn't tell her what. All he said was to take the day off work and be ready by noon. When the day arrived, a car picked her up and drove her to a private airfield where a small plane was waiting. "Where are we going?" Zara asked as Oliver helped her aboard. "You'll see." They flew to the San Juan Islands, landing on a small airstrip and transferring to a car that took them to a secluded beach house overlooking the water. It was beautiful, all windows and wood and stunning views, completely private. "You rented this for the weekend?" Zara asked, spinning around to take it all in. "I bought it," Oliver said, "for us. I know you love the ocean, and I thought we could use a place to escape to when things get overwhelming." Zara's eyes filled with tears. "You bought me a house. I bought us a house. Our retreat." "What do you think?" She launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck. "I think I'm the luckiest person alive." They spent the weekend at the beach house, walking along the shore and cooking meals together and making love as the sun set over the water. On their last evening there, as they sat on the deck watching stars appear in the darkening sky, Oliver took her hand. "I want to ask you something," he said, his voice serious. Zara's heart started racing. "Okay." "When you told me you didn't believe me, that night a year ago when I confessed my feelings, I thought I'd lost you forever. I thought I'd ruined everything by being honest about how I felt. But then you gave me a chance, and it's been the best year of my life." He stood up, pulling her to her feet, and then he was dropping to one knee, pulling a small box from his pocket. "Oliver," Zara breathed, tears already streaming down her face. "Zara Ellis, you are my best friend, my partner, the love of my life. You make me better in every way. You challenge me and support me and make me laugh even on my worst days. I want to spend the rest of my life proving to you every single day that this is real, that my love for you is real. Will you marry me?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Yes, absolutely yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger, a simple, elegant diamond that caught the starlight, and then he was standing and kissing her, and Zara felt like her heart might burst from happiness. They got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the beach house, surrounded by their closest friends and family. Zara wore a simple white dress and carried wildflowers, and when Oliver saw her walking toward him down the aisle they'd created in the sand, he started crying. "I don't believe you," she teased during their vows, echoing her words from that night so long ago. "I don't believe I get to be this happy." "Believe it," Oliver said, his voice thick with emotion, "because I'm never letting you go." They honeymooned in Italy, spending 2 weeks eating incredible food and exploring ancient cities, and falling even more in love. When they returned to Seattle, they settled into married life with the same ease that had characterized their relationship from the start. Zara finally opened her bookshop a year after the wedding. She'd saved money from working at the other shop, and with a small business loan, she was able to lease a space in a neighborhood she loved. Oliver helped with the renovations, and on opening day, he was there cutting the ribbon alongside her. The shop was a success beyond her wildest dreams. She created a warm, welcoming space that felt like a sanctuary for book lovers, and people flocked to it. Oliver would come by after work sometimes, sitting in the corner reading while she helped customers, and Zara would catch his eye and feel overwhelmed with gratitude for everything they'd built together. 2 years into their marriage, they started talking seriously about having children. It was something they both wanted, and after several months of trying, Zara got pregnant. She surprised Oliver with the news by wrapping the positive pregnancy test in a book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, and watching his face as he opened it. "Are you serious?" he asked, his eyes wide. "We're having a baby." He picked her up and spun her around, both of them laughing and crying at the same time. The pregnancy wasn't always easy. Zara had terrible morning sickness for the first trimester, but Oliver was there through all of it, holding her hair back and bringing her crackers and ginger ale and telling her how beautiful she was even when she felt awful. Their daughter was born on a rainy Seattle afternoon in October, weighing 7 pounds 3 ounces with a full head of dark hair. They named her Emma, and the moment Zara held her for the first time, she understood what people meant when they said your heart could exist outside your body. Oliver was a natural father, patient and loving and completely devoted. He'd take Emma on walks when she couldn't sleep, talking to her about books and business and everything in between. He'd read to her every night, his deep voice soothing even when Emma was fussy. Watching him with their daughter made Zara fall in love with him all over again in new and deeper ways. This was the man who'd confessed his love in a coffee shop while she insisted she didn't believe him. This was the man who'd been patient and persistent and proven every single day that his feelings were real. On Emma's first birthday, as they celebrated with family and friends in the backyard of the beach house, Zara found a quiet moment alone with Oliver. They stood at the railing of the deck, watching the ocean, Emma asleep against Oliver's shoulder. "You remember when I said I didn't believe you?" Zara asked softly. Oliver smiled. "How could I forget? You nearly gave me a heart attack. I was so convinced you were lying, that there was no way you could actually love me. And now," she looked at him, at their sleeping daughter, at the life they'd created together. "Now I believe. In you, in us, in everything we've built. I believe completely." Oliver shifted Emma to one arm and pulled Zara close with the other. "Good, because I'm going to keep proving it to you for the rest of our lives. I'm counting on it." They stood there together as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. A family, a future, a love that had started with disbelief and grown into something unshakable and true. And as Emma stirred awake, looking up at them with her father's dark eyes and her mother's smile, Zara knew that every moment of doubt, every fear, every challenge had been worth it to get to this perfect, imperfect, beautiful life. 3 years later, Emma became a big sister when their son James was born. The bookshop expanded to a second location. Oliver's company continued to thrive, but he made sure to always prioritize family time, often working from home so he could be present for the moments that mattered. They celebrated anniversaries at the beach house, took family vacations to places both exotic and simple, and every night, no matter how busy the day had been, they made time for each other. Sometimes it was just 10 minutes before bed, talking about their days. Sometimes it was elaborate date nights with fancy restaurants and shows. But it was always intentional, always prioritizing the connection that had brought them together. On their 10th anniversary, they returned to that coffee shop where Oliver had first confessed his feelings. It had changed owners since then, been renovated and updated, but they sat at the same table where Zara had said those words that still made them both laugh. "I don't believe you," Emma repeated, having heard the story countless times. She was 9 now, precocious and wise beyond her years. "That's what you said." "That's exactly what I said," Zara confirmed. "But why?" James asked. He was 6, curious about everything. "Because sometimes when something seems too good to be true, it's hard to believe it's real," Zara explained. "But your father proved to me every day that it was real, that his love was real, and now I never doubt it." Oliver reached across the table and took her hand. "And I never will give you a reason to doubt it." After all these years, after everything they'd been through together, Zara finally understood what it meant to be chosen. To be loved fully and completely, not despite her flaws, but because of everything she was. Oliver had seen her, really seen her, and decided she was worth fighting for, worth proving himself to, worth everything. And she'd learned to believe, not just in his love, but in her own worth, in their future, in the beautiful, messy, perfect life they were building together. That night in the coffee shop felt like a lifetime ago. The scared girl who couldn't believe someone could love her now, a confident woman who knew exactly how loved she was. As they tucked their children into bed that night, reading stories and giving kisses, Zara caught Oliver's eye across Emma's room. He winked at her, and she felt that same flutter in her stomach that she'd felt on their first real date, proof that some things never faded. Later, curled up in bed together, Oliver said, "What are you thinking about?" "About how I almost let fear keep me from this. From you, from us, from everything we have now. But you didn't. You gave us a chance and look where we ended up." Zara smiled in the darkness. "I believe you," she whispered. "I believe in you, in us, in forever." "Forever," Oliver agreed, pulling her closer. "I like the sound of that." And as they drifted off to sleep, wrapped in each other's arms in the home they'd made together, Zara sent up a silent thank you to her past self for being brave enough to listen, to try, to believe. Because everything she'd ever wanted, everything she'd ever dreamed of, had started with those 3 words that had seemed so impossible to accept: "I love you." Now, 10 years and a lifetime later, she knew those words by heart. She lived them every day, in every moment, in every choice they made together. The billionaire and the bookshop girl, the man who'd confessed his love and the woman who'd learned to believe him. Their story wasn't a fairy tale. It was better than that. It was real.